welcome back to my channel. I am back with my mom because fun fact, today is Mother's Day, so I thought I would do a little interview with you, Mom, and ask you some questions about being a mom with type 1 and raising a kid with type 1, because fun fact, if you didn't already know, I was diagnosed when I was 6, and my mom also has type 1 and she was diagnosed very long ago. And I think we should leave it at that.
Yeah, I was 11.
She was 11. Okay, and if you hear...
And I'm way older now.
If you hear a funny noise in the background, there's cats that are going absolutely berserk right now. Also, pre-video question, what is your blood sugar right now?
It is 195.
I am 137, but
You win.
I know it sounds good, but I just had a huge spike, so it's been a rough day.
I've been eating and cooking at the same time.
Yes, we've been cooking. Okay, first question. Were you nervous to have a type 1 pregnancy?
Yes. This would have been 1993, and I had only really heard horror stories about pregnancies, you know, babies with malformations and big babies, and if you didn't keep your blood sugars perfect, you know, bad things would happen. So I did go. We went to my endocrinologist and tried to kind of get my blood sugars sort of super good before we tried getting pregnant, and she said, you know, hey, if you keep your sugars good, you could have a perfectly normal pregnancy. So, okay. So yeah, so I was nervous. I didn't know anybody who had had a pregnancy with diabetes. So just kind of tried my best to keep my blood sugars under control. But yeah, it was sort of, the whole time I was pregnant, it was very nerve-wracking, just because you didn't know what the outcome was going to be.
And then the outcome was me.
Yes, you were the outcome. And you were cute as a kid.
Was I a large baby?
No, you were born at like 38 and a half weeks, so I wasn't quite full term. And you were 6'13"?
That's my birthday.
It is your birthday.
Oh, was I 6? Did I weigh that much on my birthday?
I forget how much you weighed.
The truth comes out.
I think you were 6'14", maybe 6'13", 6'14". You were not a big kid. I mean, I think you were pretty much on par for how far along in pregnancy
yeah.
was.
Well, and I'm like pretty short. That doesn't have anything to do.
But my blood sugars were the best they've ever been, before or since. Yeah.
We have a visitor. This is Phoebe. Can you get out of the way, little cat? Well, you're welcome for letting you have perfect blood sugars during your pregnancy.
Yeah, I owe it all to you.
Thank you. The what's the word? Accolade?
Yeah.
It's the accolade that I've been looking for. Okay.
I owe it all to you.
You owe it all to me. Okay. What is the toughest part of being a mom of a type 1 diabetic?
Well, nowadays it's a lot easier than it was. When you were first diagnosed would have been around the year 2000, and they really didn't have insulin pumps. There weren't a lot of kids on insulin pumps at the time. They didn't have CGMs, so it was really just injections and finger sticks. And you were fine with all that, like you never put up a fight. But
again,
it's nothing.
You're welcome.
It's nothing like, you know, the things you have, the technology you have today. So you couldn't really watch sugars like you can today with kids with CGMs. You know, 24/7 you can know what your kid's blood sugar is. Overnight you can know what it is. Mm-hmm. But a lot of my, you know, what I felt would happen to you was based on sort of how I went through childhood. And we didn't have any of that stuff then either. And yeah, didn't get into any trouble, so I sort of assumed you wouldn't get into any trouble.
It did pretty good, I think.
Ignorant, but I was kind of what I knew. So we figured if, we kind of kept on top of it, not perfect, so we'd be okay.
And we managed, because here I am. What did you think when I was diagnosed?
Sarah, when you were diagnosed, I wasn't completely shocked. I knew that you looked a lot like me. You had a lot of the same physical traits. So I sort of wondered if you would get diabetes someday. You were much younger than I was when I was diagnosed.
How old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was just short of my 12th birthday, so I was 11. So, but I sort of had been wondering if it would happen, looking for signs, and then when it happened, it was like, okay, it's here, now we'll deal with it. Which was, in a little bit of a way, a bit of a relief. I didn't have to keep wondering when it was gonna come or if it was gonna come. So it was like, okay, I know about this. I can deal with it. Here we go.
Was it tricky trying to maintain your own blood sugars and your own type 1 diabetes while also managing mine when I was younger? And we should probably say she wasn't alone. My dad also helped out.
Yeah, no, they were sort of two different things. So no, one didn't really affect the other.
What was it like raising a type 1 child without a CGM?
That was tough, yeah.
I think I was on a CGM for like a little bit in like 7th grade maybe.
Yeah, I don't think you liked it.
No.
I don't know if it was carrying too much equipment around.
I know exactly what it was. It was the insertion, because it was the Dexcom G4 and I hated it.
Oh, that one was pretty rough.
Yeah.
That was when you had to push it in.
Mm-hmm. And take it out.
And take it out. It was like pushing in a knife.
Torture. And I was on a pump at this point, but it's way different because the pumps were automatic, where you clicked it and it went in and then you took it out.
Oh yeah, those CGMs were tough. I didn't like those either.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you were also on one at the same time, and then I think we both went off of one.
Yeah, it didn't tell me anything. They weren't as close to real time as they are now.
I still remember I had the lime green receiver.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, never mind.
Yes. So what was your...
So what was it like raising a type 1 child without a CGM?
Well, what would happen is we would often, you might be over at a friend's and you'd come home, we'd say, oh, what'd you have, for lunch, blah, blah, blah. Did you take insulin? No, I forgot. And we check your blood sugar and it was like 300. It's like, okay, or did you take insulin for this? No, I forgot.
And we were discussing this earlier. I don't remember if I actually forgot or if I was lying.
Well, it was just frustrating because it was like, how are we going to get her to remember? Because she had the pump at that point. It was just, why is she not remembering? Yeah, we couldn't really figure it out. So we wound up chasing high blood sugars sort of a lot. It would just be every time we checked it, it was high. So.
And did you say I would sneak food when I was younger?
Well, yeah, I mean, you seem to really like candy and sweets.
And I still do.
And
that definitely does not seem off par for me as a child.
Right, and you just wouldn't cover it with insulin. You wouldn't. So it was just like, oh, what are we gonna do with this kid? But you otherwise were functioning. Mm-hmm. You were.
My highs didn't really affect me. They still
did
don't.
Okay in school. It was like, it wasn't like you were going into DKA every time you went over 300.
Fifi, excuse me. We now have a third interviewee. Maybe not. Fifi, you're nice. What advice would you have for moms or parents who have type 1 kids that are going through burnout?
That's a good question.
Because I personally, how long was I in burnout for? Do you remember when I started, like, not caring?
Not exactly.
I just remember starting to care, which is when I was like 22.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I had gone through something similar. And, you know, it's hard, I think, if you're a parent who doesn't have type 1 to know exactly what your kid's going through. I mean, you do to some degree. It probably depends on the age of your child. If you have a really young kiddo, you know, elementary school or a toddler, you know that you basically are their pancreas. You have to keep your eyes on it every moment of every day, and you can't really relax. So being a kid with that, I think a lot of kids just feel like, you know, older kids, they just don't want that. It's like, hey, I didn't ask to have to be my own pancreas. I don't want to do it. I have other things going on. I have sports, or I have school, or just other things. Nobody really wants to pay attention to that every day. So it's a hard thing for a parent. You can't make your kid care about their health or their diabetes. Some kids get the negative feedback, you know, they're in the hospital, or they get really sick when they're disregarding cat. When they're high, their blood sugars are high, they feel like crap, and that's enough of a negative feedback. But other than that, you just sort of have to
take it as it comes.
Encourage, you know, and try not to nag your kid. You know, it used to drive me nuts. I know it used to drive you nuts if we keep saying, well, what's your blood sugar? How's your blood sugar today? You know, did you take your insulin? There's no magic bullet that's going to make your kid care. And they have to learn how to take care of their diabetes by themselves, ultimately. You know, they go to college or they move out of the house.
So it clicks eventually. I know it clicked with me when I was like in my early 20s, 22.
Yeah, I mean, you hope it clicks. But unfortunately, I think for some kids, it doesn't click. Not kids, you know, as they get older.
But I do think it's a part of like being diabetic is going through like not wanting to be diabetic.
Yeah, and I think
so you can't.
Yeah,
go around it.
Right. You have to face it. It sucks. Nobody wants it. Parents don't want their kids to have it. Kids don't want it. No adult wants it. But I guess once you learn that it is manageable, if you pay a little bit of attention and you kind of learn. At the same time, you know, it's discouraging. Sometimes you put all this effort in and you get some wacky blood sugar and you're like, ah, really? And it really, really helps to have friends with diabetes, people you can talk to, because sometimes you feel like, oh, I'm such a failure. Everybody else can control their blood sugar. No, they can't.
Yeah.
Nobody can, you know, and no parents could be able to convince their kid to take care of their diabetes. It's just, you're not a bad parent. You're not a bad diabetic kid. You're not a bad diabetic teenager or a diabetic person. You know, and you do the best you can.
Last, and I think the best question, what was the best part of having a kid with type 1?
Well, you know, as a kid, I was going to say there was no best part. But what I think was interesting was educating other people about type 1. You know, if you were going to stay over somebody's house and I had to explain a little bit about it, it was just the ability to be able to address it. And so many people don't know still the difference between type 1 and type 2. So just being able to educate them as to, you know, real quickly what it was. And then as you've gotten older and you've really gotten active in sort of, you know,
the community,
social media with diabetes, which is a great tool that you guys have.
Yeah.
You know tons of people with type 1 all over the world.
Some of my now best friends are type 1 diabetics.
Right, and how often it's just nice to talk to those people just about, oh, my blood sugar did this, my blood sugar did that. You know, it's not the only thing you talk about, but
right,
it's it's just something that you don't really have to worry about, you know, which is really nice. And, you know, I wish I had that when I was growing up. It would have helped me tremendously.
Yeah.
Because so many people still, they don't know anybody else with type 1. And, you know, so you don't really know.
Or they have a loose relative that has type 1 who has had their foot cut off or something.
Or type 2 typically, but, you know, and.
Their grandma has type 1.
Type 2.
Well, or type 1, okay.
But most of the things you hear about with older people telling you about their older relative, they're people with type 2.
Yeah.
Which is
different.
Totally different disease. Totally different. So yeah, so I think just having other people, and there's so many communities out there now. You know, you've got an Instagram, the Diabetic Cactus, which you guys obviously know about.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. But there are so many other platforms that are out there for people of any age to meet other people with type 1.
Facebook groups.
It's just
Beyond Type 1 has a great app.
A difference.
Yeah. That is it for my questions. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No.
Happy Mother's Day.
I don't think so. Thank you.
Cheese.
It was a nice Mother's Day. Nice way to spend Mother's Day.
This will go up after Mother's Day, but I just thought it would be interesting to interview someone who is type 1 and who has a kid with type 1 and who has seen kind of and is also a doctor. So you have been exposed to a lot.
I've seen it from all sides.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So, happy Mother's Day, Mom. Thank you for being on my video. And
you're very welcome.
I want to take a picture of Fifi right now. Okay, I'll put a picture up of the cat right here so you can see what we've been looking at this whole time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I upload on Fridays. Hit the notifications bell so that as my watch makes a bell noise, hit the notifications button so you know when I upload new videos. And I think that's it. See you guys in the next video. Bye! Fifi, you're on camera. Bye, Fifi. Hello.
Sorry, that's it.
Oh, okay.
No easy part.
Okay, let me ask it again now. What was the... what was the... what was the... Stop. Okay, 1, 2, 3, we're fine. Okay, okay. Look at, what was the toughest part of being a mom with type 1? Am I asking that?
No, don't ask me that. There isn't anything.
Okay, what is the... Stop laughing. Okay, ready? Get out of here, Fifi. Okay, maybe she'll go behind the camera now. Maybe she'll come back. Uh-oh. Hide it. Stop.